What's up, my friends? Welcome to these divination sessions in regards to a message from your subtle body. I don't really know either. just what's been coming through. So, I'm going to be on this journey just as much as you guys are. And I know I say that every time, but that's really what it feels like. Like I'm just being used and abused by spirit. Just kidding. About the abuse part. Because it's definitely been a beautiful journey with you guys so far. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking your path seriously. Hopefully not too seriously, but serious enough in order to move your consciousness towards the realms of liberation, right? Which is essentially my intention for anything that I create in the world, is to help be a steward and an usher of liberation for myself and others. So that was a tangent. So 3 piles to choose from today, my friends. Use your intuition as always. And without any more jibber jabber, we're going to jump right into these readings. What is up, my friends? Welcome to your reading. If you chose pile number 1 for messages from your subtle body, this is your reading. So messages from your subtle body, what does that mean? In this case, just to break it down with as little complexity as possible, messages from your nervous system or messages from, I think that can be pretty holistic in terms of just the angle I wanted to come at this from. Just because a little side note, what's going on in your nervous system and your subtle body kind of trumps everything else in regards to your, like the life of your destiny, your divine life. Your divine destiny, I should say. Doesn't matter how much you're visualizing, doesn't matter how much you are trying to speak things into existence. If you are a house divided against yourself, which means if your subtle body, your nervous system doesn't feel like safe at the end of the day, right? So I kind of wanted to see where you guys are at, and just to help give you guys some clarity in terms of just really aligning with your life force, right? So I'm hearing that you guys are going through very significant Kundalini activations. Man, this pile is powerful. You have a lot about igniting your passions, igniting your fire. I feel like this is something that's already happening. It could be something that was externally triggered. This is the Sun card, right? Let's just double check. Yeah, we have the Sun card coming through here with T Swift. I mean, does that not look like Taylor Swift to you guys? Oh, my nails. I'm sorry. I've been on a Taylor Swift binge for whatever reason. She's like, I'm not like a T Swift fan, but like I'm not like not a fan, but I've just been really appreciating her videos, and just like the amount of symbology that goes behind this woman's videos is incredible. So that was a weird tangent, but what's interesting about her, about Taylor Swift, is she is like, when you see this individual interact with their like fans or whatever, she's someone that is like, you can tell she's so devoted to her fans. She's so devoted to what has made her who she is, and also in the sense that it feels like very equalizing, and I feel like this is very relevant. The fact that she's coming up in this reading, I feel like is very relevant to this reading. I mean, with this universe card and the stand your ground card, you guys might be in a field where you are kind of called to stand out in a way where there's a lot of eyes on you, especially with the Sun card. Like there's a lot of eyes on you. There's a lot of people watching you. There's a lot of people that look up to you in some sort of way, that look at you for guidance, right? With this 8 of Wands card, and it looks like she's like staring at this shooting star, right? But I feel like, didn't show you guys this, if there was anything else that kind of needed to confirm that you guys are going through this immense transformation right now. But in regards to what I really appreciate about her is, like, there was this one video, for example, that I came across, and this, like, there were tons of fans all around her, and she was being ushered by her team, being ushered like inside of a building, and everyone was outside, and this boy just like looked so disappointed. He was like, had been waiting there for her for probably a while, and she walked right past him, barely even noticed him, because her team was like rushing her along. And maybe he said something, or maybe she heard something, because you could see her turn around and like look at him visibly distraught. And she like stopped what she was doing, found a pen, and like took time to like connect with him. And it's like, in her busy day where she doesn't have to do this, it's not expected of her. Like, you can tell essentially what I'm saying, that her heart is in the right place, right? I feel like that's one of the reasons why she is met with so much success, is because she's not like this celebrity or this individual that places herself above the people who have essentially kind of created her career for her, right? She really just, in a really graceful way, is just honoring her part, honoring her role. And so I'm hearing with the be devoted and committed, you guys are kind of showing up in the same type of energy. I feel like this activation that is going is happening within your subtle body. It probably feels very electric right now. You guys are probably very aware that you're going through a significant transformation. I mean, you literally have light codes. I love that this card says light on it, because this is what's happening. You have a significant amount of light codes that are being activated, right? And Spirit is saying whatever it is that you've been working on, whatever it is that you have been like had your eye on, or whatever it is that, you know, Spirit has been communicating to you of like, this is your purpose, this is why you're here, or this is at least your calling. I'm hearing, you know, stand your ground, be devoted and committed, like don't give up. And I feel like you guys are going through such an incredible activation in the first place that, you probably really don't even need to hear the encouragement to not give up. But if anything, you know, in order to avoid burnout, you guys, because I can feel that you guys are going through very significant, like these are activations, and these are Kundalini activations you are going through that can almost feel orgasmic. And that can, like there's so much energy that you feel like you need to expel it externally somehow. And trust me, I've definitely done this before where there's been so much energy. I just felt like I needed to do something. But I love that we have the Sage card here, because, I mean, you cannot underestimate the power of drawing all of that Kundalini energy, sitting your ass down on a meditation cushion and sending that to your third eye, my friends. Like, I had similar activations. It was triggered by something external. I was already building up to it, right? I was already, like, living in alignment. My passions had been ignited. I was standing my ground in my mission, being devoted and committed, right? So that builds up. I feel like you guys have been in this space of probably that, just like you're just on your path doing your thing. You're just attracting the people, the places, the synchronicities. And it feels like there's a lot of power behind what you guys are doing. And then something external will come in, like something that really kind of like adds to that flame in a way that can be almost unstable, because, you know, what's the fire element with all of this fire and transformation I'm seeing? Yeah, you have like mostly fire cards here. The fire element is one of... it's unstable by nature. It doesn't mean, like, unstable isn't necessarily negative, but it's like, it is, you know, if you compare it to something like earth, the earth element is very stable, right? It's very grounding. When we think about grounding, we think about earth. We think about going out in nature, like literally putting our feet on the earth, right? Fire is very unstable. So when you have something externalized, like whether that is a promotion or something really exciting happens where you're really acknowledged, like within your career, or someone that you low-key fangirl over, like shouts you out, or like you have a new love interest that is sparked or something, right? That can add to the fire in a way that makes you feel very unstable. And so burnout can be something that comes with it. So it's like you're going through all of these activations and you have so much energy, and Spirit's like, just pile number one just needs to make sure that they are utilizing this energy so it's not just being expelled and kind of going to waste, right? And so utilizing it to further your spiritual practices, your sadhana, right? So again, going into meditation, even if it's just for 5 minutes, you guys. Even if you don't practice meditation a lot, even if it's just for 5 minutes, like sitting down, grounding the energy, sending it to your third eye, like taking your gaze to your third eye, having that root lock, so like squeezing your lower chakras or your lower area, right? So it's almost like you're creating a seal, right? And allowing that energy to come up the spine. Because I literally, anytime this comes up, I literally think of like Kundalini. And like Kundalini yoga, that's what they do. And it's right next to the Sage card. Like Kundalini yoga, it's all about utilizing these subtle energies and allowing them to purify obstructions to our spiritual eye, purifying obstructions essentially for us to experience more of our God self. So it can feel really great. It can feel really activated. I had a love spark, whatever you could call it. Some things like sparked my interest, and we were very connected in the astral realms, and there was a ton of Kundalini activations that came with that, and I started to get really ungrounded, and it's not something that I'm like not used to at this point. At least at this point in time, I know what's going on, because in the past I've thought of it. In the past, I could feel more on the anxious side, right? And the only reason I'm speaking about this from my perspective is because this might be all symptoms that you guys are feeling with these activations, right? These are powerful activations, and sometimes that can come with it. You become even more extrasensory. You become more sensitive to the realms of other people, right? It can feel really good, especially when you're by yourself, and then you get around other people and you're just like very socially awkward, or you just like, you feel so much more to a deeper degree. Like your subtle body, like if you think of pores, the pores of your subtle body are like wide open. And so you're feeling all of the stimuli all around you, right? but you're being activated, right? You're quite literally being transformed. And so burnout is something that is really, that spirit is really drawing to my attention. Like, be mindful of burnout, and again, grounding, and not like, you're going to be really excited during this time period. Or maybe this is something to bring awareness to, like, you're approaching this period and maybe you can feel it, like your passions are ignited, you have been standing your ground, you've been devoted to your mission. And so you can probably feel this building up for those of you that aren't in this period yet. But you're going to attract something externally that I swear is going to feel this fire. And you're going to feel like you're in this blissed out state, right? It's a beautiful state to be in. But I am hearing, to move along with this reading, I am hearing that it is really important. Like, my guides told me this the other day in meditation, because I've just been so tired. Like, I've never felt so aligned with what I'm here for, right? And as I use myself essentially to be a portal to a degree that I've not before, I've been really tired, right? I've been going through a lot of activations and I've been really tired. My body has been adjusting. They're like, we will help you fine tune as you go. We will help you eat the right foods at the right time, right? If you guys maybe think about studying Ayurveda, there's a lot of fire cards here. So you guys might be Pitta people. You guys might be people who naturally have a lot of fire in your charts. And so like being able to eat in a way where you're not over fuming that element, right? Because as long as we're on this earth plane, there's certain rules that are going to we are going to have to abide by, or that are going to apply to us. Like, we are not beyond the realms of this worldly form, right? And so that's one of the reasons why the sages and the yogis, and why Ayurveda is really popular amongst yogis, is because it helps them fine tune that subtle energy, right? If they have like too much, if they have excess fire, then again, that's that unstable element. You're not going to be like, excitement and anxiety are processed in your body the same way. So physiologically, your body is like excited or nervous, or there's just like this nervous energy, right? So that's not necessarily conducive for a good meditative container, right? And so that's one of the reasons why yogis would practice Ayurveda and practice eating to a way where they were eating to help kind of neutralize the elements within their body, which also, body and mind are very connected. So the elements, what my Ayurveda teacher would often say, okay, well, I can't remember the exact quote right now, but essentially he was saying that how our body, I'm only doing 3 readings today, so I got time to take my time, okay? So these are my notes. We have a lot going on here. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, what the tastes are to the body, emotions are to the mind, right? So essentially it's like, Ayurveda teaches you to eat in a certain way, to recognize certain tastes, right? Because the tastes will link you to certain elements in order to help soothe and satiate and bring balances to the emotions in your mind. Because the more unstable the the mental body, the emotional body is and are, the more unstable they are, the harder it is the more challenging, I should say, it will be to enter a meditative state. But I am hearing that there are significant, this feels like an activation to a degree where, yeah, there's certain Kundalini activations happening, but I'm also hearing that, there is something significant that might change in your external reality, or just and how you're guided to carry yourself, or you guys might be shedding a very significant karmic pattern to the point where there might still be remnants of it, of course, but I feel like it won't be to the degree, you will feel that the scales have tipped and that you're not bound to it in such a degree that you were before. For some of you, I'm hearing that it absolutely has to do with health, has to do with maybe the way that you eat, maybe the way that you treat your body, the way that you view your body, since I'm so guided right now to talk about Ayurveda. That's just really interesting, but yeah, this health card did come up, so again, not too many surprises here, but I feel like maybe just in general, I feel like there's a significant karmic knot that you are finally coming onto the other side of. You have finally released its grip hold on you to the point to where you are making it mean more than what it is, versus just allowing the energy to move through. So I feel like coming on the other side of whatever this karmic knot has been for you, a new beginning, I feel like, yeah, this is really indicating to me that there will be, for sure, external manifestations or external demonstrations or external invitations to activate more of this fire energy, right? Yeah, a lot of accelerated motion forward. So, I mean, I feel like your subtle body is communicating that there's a lot of great things that are happening, but it's just really important to like take care of yourself. Take care of your subtle body, like making sure that you put rest, right? Making sure that you're taking time to rest, making sure that you're not pushing yourself to the point of burnout. Because I know for me, when I go through these types of significant Kundalini activations, I'm just like, go, 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 right? I just want to do everything. And I have a lot of, power and a lot of fuel behind my projects. And that's great. I can get a lot done, right? In a very short amount of time and really enjoy every step of it. Like it doesn't feel like work, like it actually feels like play. And then I can also get to this point where it's just like, I didn't stabilize it, right? And so like if I had maybe just like taken my time with this Eight of Pentacles and been more mindful with that energy expenditure and not just letting it kind of all go out at once, then I feel like, you know, and this is something that I'm learning as I go, and it is most certainly showing itself to be true, is that, you know, it will be much more sustainable versus just like these bursts of unstable fire, right? And then just like burnout complete, like this really, I'm just seeing like a flickering flame, and then that's really big and strong, and then one that kind of like dwindles down, that's barely there, right? You have the 7 coming up. You have a lot of 7s and a lot of 8s coming up in this reading. Yeah, so 7 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles. I feel like for a lot of you, there is a lot of progress you are making in your career. Like this activation, I'm hearing that a lot of this energy is to be utilized towards the realms of your career or your dharmic path. I like to use the phrase dharmic path versus career because they're not always one and the same. But I feel like this is a group that is very, you're very devoted to why you're here. You're very, like you take it serious, right? You take your, hopefully not too seriously. I think I said that in the intro. But like you take your incarnation seriously and you want to utilize your time that you're here for seriously, right? And so a lot of this energy, I feel like naturally you're going to be guided to certain projects. You might be guided to like start a new endeavor or start something that helps enhance things that you've been working on. You might even have been like in this period of like questioning, okay, what should I do? Like where should I go from here? And I'm hearing that along with these activations, you guys, you're going to get huge insight or something's going to come. Like you might have been in this waiting period because there were other elements that needed to fall in place. Like someone needed to come into your reality, or you were just waiting for like a piece of information to come. So you might have felt like you were in this waiting game for a little bit, but I am hearing that significant progress has been made, even if it seems like not on the level externally that you can see. There has been significant progress that has been made, and I'm just hearing that it's, you know, to continue on. If you've been wondering whether I should like stop or whether I should continue forward, I'm hearing that, you know, it's essential that you keep putting one foot after another. And there might have been, sometimes we can reach periods of stagnancy. It's like, what is it? It's like the calm before the storm. And this doesn't necessarily feel like a negative storm. Like, again, you're going through significant transformations. I mean, you have 3 major arcana coming up in this one deck alone. But it seems like, if it seems like you have been in a little bit of a lull, it's because Spirit was kind of like safeguarding you, essentially because they kind of knew that this pocket you were approaching or this pocket that you were now in was going to be a lot, right? It was going to be a lot of activations on a cellular level, coming on board, coming online with more of your cosmic DNA, right? So you guys might even be feeling, yeah, more like connected to your cosmic family, more like the universe itself, right? More like divinity incarnate more than ever before. And I am hearing it's just really important to stay grounded, stay connected to your body. You're making great progress, right? Do not be fooled after appearances. There's a lot happening for you guys. It's really exciting, right? A significant cycle is ending. You are shedding a significant skin. And I feel like more than anything on the other side of this, and even during this, probably more so on the other side of it, just because there can be so much anxiety that we can also feel during these periods, because it's so much energy, like you're expanding so rapidly. And again, those pores are open. You're going to feel like a new person, right? And so be devoted to your practice, stay devoted to your practice, whatever you're working on. You know, you're going to have a breakthrough soon if you don't already feel that, but continue forward. If you need to make little tweaks, then go ahead. But I am seeing that there's a lot of spiritual power. There's a lot of momentum behind everything you're doing right now. So just being essential that you're, you're putting your focus where your focus goes, your energy flows. So you're putting your focus on those things that really matter, which, you know, in my most humble of opinions, it should be my connection to my own life force, how much of that I'm feeling, how much of that I'm allowing to dictate my life, you know, how much I'm surrendered to spirit using me as a vessel. Because I know as long as I'm surrendering my smaller will, my ego self, my ego's will, then I'm going to be guided in the right directions. Right. And I'm not sowing seeds out of insecurity, sowing seeds out of obligation, sowing seeds out of illusion to the best of my ability. And I'm sowing seeds in wisdom. I'm sowing seeds in love. I'm sowing seeds in faith, etc. So a ton of energy, you guys. This is like beautiful. I'm here for this, right? A lot of transformation, a hell of a lot of transformation. You have 3 like major cards that really signify that. Yeah, keep going, keep moving forward. Great things in store. Pile number 1, thank you for being here today. Please like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've been here before, and I hope to see you soon. What is up, my friends? This is Pile 2's reading for messages from your subtle body. Now, your subtle body at this time is kind of communicating to you guys that you guys need some space, that there needs to be some time alone. I'm hearing that there might have been like a significant experience that happened, or maybe it was a series of events that happened that has caused you to be in this emotional withdrawal kind of energy. I mean, we have hold the space coming up here. We have solitude. We also have the hanged man. We have think about it. So your guides and your subtle body is really coming on strong here and saying that, you know, I feel like there's a desire for you to move in a new direction, but you're kind of feeling lost. You're kind of not sure how you're going to go about making this happen, or how you're going to go about bringing this into existence. And it might be because, like, it might not all make sense right now, because I feel like something significant has happened in your life that has kind of triggered you to go into yourself, or this is where you're being guided. You're really being guided to take time to yourself and learn from whatever. It says learn from spiritual experiences. And then I can't help but notice how this Hermit card, right? Yeah, this Hermit card is, she's holding a book, right? And oftentimes I think about like esoteric teachings or just like spiritual teachings. You know, when I got my nose in the books, it's generally because there's some sort of truth that I'm seeking in order to help alleviate some sort of distortion, or just like some sort of cord of suffering, right? Which generally has to do with like a karmic attachment, or just like misperceptions, right? Not being able to perceive something in the right way, or in an accurate way. Now, this doesn't mean that necessarily we will stay in the same spot. It doesn't mean that we're going to move on, but it's essentially, if you like, I feel like your subtle body is really communicating that, you know, don't act from a place where you are emotionally charged when you're making your decisions. And this is coming from y'all subtle body, because I just laugh, because I've definitely made many decisions where I did not take time for this to happen. But I feel like something has been triggered, right? There's something here. You're not seeing the full side of something, this full scope of like an experience that when this great teacher comes up, like this could mean so many different things. Like this could have so many different externalized permission slips, but essentially I feel like what this means, or what it could represent, regardless of the multitude of ways it's going to look like for all those beings drawn to pile number 2, is that there's something significant that I feel like is happening externally that's triggering an internal sense, a deep sense of dis-ease, and a deep sense of insecurity, a deep sense of just feeling unstable, just maybe even questioning your worth, your worthiness, questioning your direction, questioning the next step from here. There might even be a degree of you guys that are maybe thinking about something too much, and spirit is like, you might be in thought loops, is essentially what I'm getting at with this, the moon and the think about it card. I feel like if the sun were to come up, this combination might tell me that you're starting to gain some illumination around an area, right? But I feel like your emotions are too involved in whatever this situation, whatever this trigger was, whatever this external event is. Your emotions are too involved for you to be able to see clearly. And so that's why we have the Hanged Man and the Moon card coming up. yeah, you're really being asked, your subtle body is asking you to hold space right now, not to make any irrational decisions, not to be so guided by your emotions, because it seems like all of these things are happening in order to like take us down certain roads and to move in certain directions. And again, remembering there's nothing you can do that's wrong, but essentially it's like Spirit just wants to take us to a place, especially if you resonate with my channel. If you're drawn to my channel, you are here to be more in service. It's safe to say for the whole of the planet. You are naturally probably a very service to others individual versus service to self. Like, what am I going to get out of it? What am I going to manifest for myself in my life, right? And while to a certain degree, that's, obviously we need certain things to be in our life to make accomplishing our dharmic path more feasible and more realistic, of course. But I feel like those beings that are drawn to my channel, you're more concerned with the well-being of others with this Queen of Pentacles card coming up. Like, you're much more likely to share what little you have with other people versus hoarding it all to yourself, right? And so I feel like I'm getting this two-step or this back and forth where on one hand, you feel like you want to be by yourself, and there's like a part of you that is probably being ran by your mind that says that you need to get it done, you need to make something happen, you need to go, you need to figure it out. And you're like, that's what's happening on the gross realm. But on the level of your subtle body, like your subtle body is really coming through and being like, pile number 2 really needs to take time to integrate whatever this deep lesson was, right? Because generally after a deep activation or like a tower moment, which kind of, I'm definitely getting the indication that you guys may have been through, something significant that has brought you into this space of being like, okay, I want to close myself off to the world, or something that has really jarred you, right? And it might not even be something that other people from the outside would be able to identify. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what, this is going to look different. And the reason I continue to like drive that point home is because sometimes I feel like we think that these big things need to happen externally to really trigger, in order to justify how deep and significant a certain karmic knot feels within us, right? But this is the level of the subtle body. So even the slightest like misalignment, we're deeply going to feel, right? And so I feel like this might be something that's saying it's like you're expanding so much and you're becoming much more subtle. Your psychic gifts are coming online to a greater degree, that this kind of thing, whatever this trigger is, whatever this remnant cord of illusion, right, with this moon card here, whatever this misperception is of there being 2 powers. So what I mean by that is all there is God. And then there is generally evil is just the thought that the belief in 2 powers when there's only 1 power. Evil is just the belief in 2 powers, that someone can send you the evil eye, something bad can happen to you, right? That somehow other people can have any effect on your reality and your incarnation. That's a belief in 2 powers. There's only 1 power. And as long as you're taking the time to really do your best to align with that 1 power, you can rest assured that you will be taken care of. And oftentimes we don't realize how like truly aligning yourself to God really does trump the laws of man, right? And so for some of you, I feel like you need to keep that in mind, because it's interesting, because when this card comes up for me, when it has come up in the past, there have been very significant things. There are very significant things that this card brings up for me that I understand that it's to remind me that no matter what the permission slip looks like, Spirit's going to use whatever permission slip it can to get you to align to God, to get you to align with source energy. And so it doesn't matter what seems to be happening external. Spirit is saying, don't make it mean about the thing itself. Don't make it mean, okay, this means that I need to move in a new direction. This means A, B, and C about my external reality. Right, again, so your gross body, when I say gross, I mean the manifested body, right? This external world, the world of your 3D is probably pulling at you right now, or at least your mind is pulling at you to make a decision, right? But Spirit is saying you need to go into yourself. There is an aspect of this. This is a great teacher. Whatever has happened to you, whatever has occurred in your life is a great teacher, and you need to seize the opportunity to integrate the codes that it was here to teach you, because I am hearing that it will reap many rewards. You will be prosperous on the level of on the spiritual level, which cannot help but extend to everything externally. So I feel like this is really asking you to take time to yourself, take time to think about it, take time to marinate over what has happened, right? If you don't feel like being around people, don't be around people. Don't feel like you need to overextend yourself or be so giving of yourself, pile number 2. If it feels like you're drawing upon just the bare minimum, like your wells feel like they're all dried up, right? Don't feel like you need to overextend. You don't owe anything to anyone. And, you know, with this hold the space, it's like hold the space for yourself. With this hanged man, it's like don't make any decisions right now. Give yourself permission to take time. Your subtle body, I feel like, is so used to you being a go-getter, so used to you being in this energy of like, if I want it, I had it yesterday. Like you're very, I feel like this is a group that is very about their bag, right? Very much so about their bag, getting it, taking care of it, very responsible, right? Very much so like nothing is going to bring me down. I feel like you guys have developed this level of resiliency over your lifetime, throughout your lifetime, I should say. It's like nothing holds you down. And I feel like maybe in a sense you've even like, created a level of pride off of your ability to do that. That's great. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but, and it could be useful to give yourself time and space as you grow wiser to not feel like you have to plow through things, right? Because it's like when you have a trigger to this type of extent, and if something in your field is triggering you into a state of like where the lower chakras are imbalanced and you're feeling a trigger in terms of like fear, financial fear, or there's just some sort of trigger of fear, and fear, like you're buying into the illusion, right? Doesn't matter what that could look like, right? For you, it could be so many different things. It could be something that happened in your family, partnership, whatever, right? It's like if you are sowing seeds in fear, the fruit you are going to reap will be layered with that level of fear, right? So if you are sowing seeds, doing your best to take time and to extract this spiritual lesson from things, and you're not like breaking up or moving on or doing something from this level of instability, and you're doing your best to clear and to extract the spiritual nutrients from whatever this was here to teach you, then when you are guided, if you even are guided to move in a new direction, you won't be sowing seeds out of hostility. You won't be sowing seeds out of anger, out of revenge, out of insecurity, fear, instability, right? You'll be doing your best to sow seeds in wisdom, to sow seeds in love, right? And so that's more of the harvest that the harvest that you reap from that will be flavored with more of that potentiality, right? So I'm hearing that there is something great that you are here to learn. If you need to take time to read, right? If you need to take time to listen to your favorite spiritual teachers, beings that bring you back in alignment with seeing through the eyes of God, especially in this time where you might be triggered in a space where you're feeling so emotionally absorbed in whatever this is, because I am hearing this is a huge karmic knot that was probably triggered for you, or a significant part of what you're here to help clear for the planet, whether it be generationally or whether more so for just like what you were like, all right, I'm coming to Earth. This is the pocket of karma I'm going to help, clear, whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? Tuning to those teachers that don't make it about the thing. It's really essential that we get better at discerning what our input is. If you are going to readers, if you're going to guides, this is not talking anyone down, because everyone's on their own journey. And I do deeply feel and trust that everyone is doing their best from where they're at. But if you're in the state of anxiety, do not be feeding your field. Do not be bringing into your field people that are going to perpetuate a belief in two separate powers or more than one power. Do not be bringing things into your field that are going to bring you deeper into the realms of illusion versus the realms of liberation, which is seeing something from a different perspective. I actually don't know everything about this situation, right? Whatever this is, if I feel contracted, if I feel negative, if I feel limited, if I am feeling so emotionally distraught and triggered, there is something about this I'm not seeing clearly, and I can be sure of that, because that's your emotional guidance system. That's the reason why it's built into us. That spirit's direct way of communicating with us is how much am I seeing through the eyes of God? And you will know you are seeing through the eyes of God more and more, regardless of what the fuck's happening externally. But when you penetrate that level of peace that surpasses all understanding, right? So really important that if you're going to other teachers, great teachers at this time, You're not going to teachers that are going to feed a belief in two powers, a belief that someone's out to get you, a belief that someone is sending you the evil eye, a belief of anything that someone, mortal man, tries to do to you, right? That's a belief in two powers. That's a belief in evil, right? And what is evil? If you peel back enough layers, we come in with certain veils of forgetfulness in order to make this earth experience relevant, right? So evil is essentially beings that are just operating under a lot of veils of illusion, a lot of veils of forgetfulness. Because the more you peel back the layers, the more you see through the eyes of God, the more clarity, the less confusion, right? Confusion leads to illusion, which leads to suffering. But the more clarity you have, the more, what's the word that's been coming through? My guides have been saying, oh my God, what is it? Clarity leads to deliverance. That's what this looks like. It's like deliverance, right? Clarity leads to deliverance. Confusion leads to suffering. Clarity leads to deliverance, right? And clarity is really seeing the greatest teachers that you will work with are the teachers that remind you there's only one power, there's only one source. And it's important that you are taking advice. You are going to those teachers primarily when you're in a point of spiritual weakness or frailty or feeling triggered or feeling like something external can have any effect on you and the truth of who you are. It is essential you're going to those teachers. And it's essential you're not going to beings that are going to perpetuate this belief in two powers, that are going to perpetuate this idea that anything wrong can happen in your incarnation. It's all divine. Whether it's good or it's bad, I deeply feel and I deeply believe, and I have seen in my life time and time again, no matter how good it's gotten, no matter how bad it's gotten, God trumps all. Your connection with Source trumps all. No matter how bad it is, there's a peace that you feel. No matter how good it gets, it's almost like that excitement. You start to see how there's a level of instability within excitement when really good things start to happen. It starts to feel unstable. The more that you go to Source, the more that you really tap into this wellspring of true peace. It's like, I don't want excitement anymore. I want peace, man. I just want peace and bliss. I feel like in the West, we think bliss is what my Ayurveda teacher says. He's like, bliss, we think it's like this far out thing. Because it's the Western mind has gotten a hold of these like Eastern principles. But bliss is a very subtle thing. And what happens on the subtle level is much more powerful than what happens on a gross level. Or like even on the gross in the sense of emotions, right? The emotional roller coaster. Because the subtle means that you are closer to that which is truth, that which is unchanging is truth. That which changes and is ephemeral is illusion. And so it's so interesting that I'm being guided to go into this level of depth, because this is whatever this is going to look so different for everyone, right? This external trigger is going to look so different for all of my pile twos, but it's so interesting. Again, it's so beautiful because it really does show how it's all leading us to the same place. This was a great teacher, no matter how mundane or no matter how small it might seem, no matter how irrational it might seem. This was here to take you closer to God. Because you're at a certain stage of your development where that needs to be your number one. That's not your like somewhere down the line of your list of priorities. No, that's your number one priority every day. Getting up and making a conscious connection with your Source, where everything is put into perspective. It's like that phrase of He goes before me, God goes before me. Wherever I go, God goes before me, because you've already made that conscious connection. You already know what's up. You already know that there's only one power. And that when you start to feel contracted, when you start to feel limited, you are buying into illusion. And that's not something negative. That's not something to judge yourself over, because that's just keeping you bound to your karma. But again, let that be your indication. Oh, I'm not seeing something clearly. You guys are in a very, I don't want to say fragile state, but your, Eckhart Tolle would call it your pain body is very activated right now. So it's like the smallest things I feel like will kind of feel tender. The smallest touches at this, whatever was triggered for you, is going to feel tender, right? So again, that's really why it's really important that you are going to just like the most pure of beings, right? The beings that aren't just speaking about spiritual truth, but you can feel in their field, right? That they have really tapped into that wellspring. Be really discerning of who you're taking advice from, right? Because it's people that mean well that will be like, oh yeah, just get the fuck up out of there, just like whatever, do your own thing, make all these moves, make it happen, right? But it's like a really wise being. Like druids are very ancient souls. A very wise soul, a very old soul would be like, no, Take time. There's something here for you to glean. There's something here for you to learn. You're believing in illusion. And like, if you want to experience true prosperity, you cannot have your sense of well-being so tethered to these external things, right? So really important. Yeah, I love at the top of this druid's thing is like a clear quartz thing. His staff is a clear quartz, and that talks all about seeing things with clarity, true clarity, right? So there's something external. Your subtle body is like, this person, you know, they have created a level of resiliency within themselves that I feel like to an extent you can most definitely extract certain lessons. This is asking you to go much deeper, because I feel like you are becoming so much more sensitive. So your subtle body is becoming so much more active and opening and expanding to such a degree that it's like things that felt a little bit smaller when your subtle body was not as active. Now that same thing, it doesn't have to change. It doesn't mean it changed. It's just that you're so sensitive that now something that felt like this now feels like this, right? And so it's like we're all being activated to extreme degrees right now. The planet is going through huge transformations, right? So it's really important that your spiritual eye is very active and you're not being swept up in the realm of illusion. I just saw 2022, so 2022. Right? Which is, you know, the year that I'm filming this in, right? So very significant. This is a very beautiful catalyst unto yourself, unto discarding. It's like if you buy into illusion in even the smallest of ways, it's just like you're being like, okay, illusion is what's going to run my domain. But as long as you're like, no, I'm only believing in truth, right? All that is untrue, just like continue to let it fall away. Your beliefs, your thoughts, etc. Let it fall away, right? I read something by a new teacher I found. Oh God, I forget his name. Shunya Murti, maybe, Sat Yoga Institute. It's a great channel. I highly recommend it. But he was saying today that I read it, someone had written something in his comment section, and he's like, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I found you, yada, yada. And the teacher actually responded. There was one comment that's like, he doesn't always respond. And then someone's like, oh, he responded. And the teacher essentially said, like, only read books, only put yourself or listen to things, right? Teachers, enough to get you inspired to meditate. Otherwise, keep your mind empty. Keep your mind clear, right? So only read things, only go out externally in order to inspire you to make conscious connection with God, right? Because that's where real transformation happens, not just amassing all of this knowledge, which can be great. I'm not saying that's wrong at all. That's moving in the right direction. Just like sitting down and reading and immersing yourself in spiritual knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita talks about that is one of the gateways into God, right? So that's great. But essentially, I feel like the goal, right, in this incarnation is to get to a point to where meditation is not like somewhere down the list of like, if I have time. It's the number one priority. Conscious connection with source is your number one priority. So I'm going to leave this reading here for now because I could just go on and on about this. But many blessings on your journey. You guys have all that you need. Keep going in. Keep tuning into the only one source, right? Only one power. And yeah, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've been here before, and I hope I see you soon. What's up, group number 3? So I know when I do these readings and I just have just a few piles, like some of y'all guides will just be by like piling up in one pile. That makes it really fucking convoluted for me to try to figure out, because there's a lot going on in this pile. But I feel like, so the first thing I heard was that pile number 3 is feeling very anxious. Pile number 3 is feeling like they need to protect themselves. Pile number 3 is feeling very ungrounded, right? And very unsafe. So that's something that your subtle body is communicating. So we have a lot here that has to do with like there's a lot of mental anxiety that I'm seeing here with you guys. There's a lot of back and forth, and I feel like it has to do with, I feel like it has to do with love, right? And I feel like there might be a part of you, for some of you guys with this, we have a Hierophant card coming up. So for some of you guys, it might have to do with like marriage. You're wondering if you're going to be successful, if you're going to be victorious in this union, divine union. This authority card just to me also talks about inner authority versus outer authority, or like taking your cues from the outside in. But it's very clear whatever's happened. I feel like something new might have been sparked, and it's like the things on the earth plane might seem a little bit tricky in terms of like how to make it work or how to juggle. it just seems like there's a lot of like something new has been sparked, and it's like sometimes it doesn't take very long for this new spark to happen, for us to like have our eye on a counterpart, and then it's like all of all of our shadow comes up from the woodworks, right? With this Judgment card, it's like the things that we didn't even know, we didn't even realize were still tethering us, becomes very obvious when we have a new love spark. So I feel like overall what your subtle body is communicating, that you feel very protective at this time. And if you want success, if you want victory, if you want to feel like you're actually being able to receive someone, and someone is actually able to receive you to a degree of vulnerability and transparency that is required in order to be successful, in order to make something long-term be lasting, then it requires you to not be in the state of feeling so overprotective of yourself, right? And there's a lot here about like, I feel like if you, for those beings, I'm very certain it's either your current partner or new love interest is sparking this, or like a situationship is sparking this deep type of insecurity, because, you know, there's things, because this is talking about the level of the nervous system and the level of the subtle body, this to me is telling me that there's things that have been unintegrated traumas, unintegrated betrayals, like whatever dynamics have led you to a space of feeling unworthy and feeling like you're undeserving of love, whatever, right? I am hearing that you are being like, something has been sparked in you, and maybe it's not going the way that you think it should. Maybe you start to feel protective, or maybe you're starting to project onto the other person. And it's like, this is interesting because I am seeing, I'm always drawn to the fact that this guy has like his third eye activated, and I am seeing that a lot of this is like happening in the mind, right? So there might be a lot of astral communication that you're even having with this individual. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys are, I mean, for the people drawn to my channel, right, that there would be a lot of astral communication. But we do have Release the Old and Rest coming up, right? So I feel like there's a lot of astral connection, a lot of astral communication you guys are having, whether or not, regardless of how much you guys are actually seeing each other in person. It's very clear that there has been a love interest that sparked. For majority of you guys, they know of you, right? Because, you know, in this internet age, man, sometimes these readings get really far out, and it's like, okay, does this person even know that you exist, or is this person on the same page about this connection? Because it's not always so sure, right? So I feel like regardless, it's like a big part of your protective mechanisms that you developed in the past because of betrayal, because of just like, you know, just immature shit, immature relationships, first loves, first relationships can tend to be really immature, especially because we don't really know who the fuck we are in our early 20s, you know, even into our mid to like late 20s. Hopefully, mid to late 20s, we start to develop a grip on who the fuck we are, right? But then you're in a place where it's so interesting, because it's like the less I knew who I was, the more my options seemed abundant, and the more that I fine-tune and the more that I really align with my soul stream, it's like the filters are up, and it takes a lot. Like, it's very rare that someone gets through all of the filters in terms of what makes this a compatible state, right? So I'm hearing that, you know, don't feel like there's something wrong with you if that's your case. If you like have love interests that are sparked and it never seems to go very much farther than the spark, like just as soon as the spark comes, it seems to wither. And also for some of you guys, one of the reasons why that spark may wither is because like the spark is there to kind of trigger the unhealed aspects of you and to kind of bring to the light where you are not doing this, where you're not loving yourself. And it's like you miss the mark. Like you make the spark mean about this other person, when it's like there's no such thing as, like Ram Dass says this, there's no such thing as like a special relationship, or at least this is how he viewed it, and this is most definitely how I view it. There's no special relationships. There are some relationships that are more, maybe that feel more significant than others, but no one is more or less special to us, right? But some of them definitely feel much more significant in terms of our growth, in terms of our evolution, in terms of like shaping us into who we're here to be, right? So I feel like it's like for my pile number 3 is there are catalysts, right? I feel like you guys might get really swept up in when you do get a new love spark, but your defenses at the same time, it's like on one hand you want this, on one hand you want this, but on another hand, I feel like your new lovers kind of get this side of you that is like you're playing out past karmas with past people. Like they're getting the wrath of judgment for things that other people did. It's like you come in armored versus like, and this is not necessarily, I'm not saying this is bad at all. There's probably a reason why you come in armored, right? But I am hearing that, and you know, you guys are wanting victory and success in the relationship department. And it feels like no matter what, whether this is your current partner or whether this is just like a long-standing pattern of, it feels like people come into my field and I'm the teacher, I'm the one, like, it feels like you're the one doing the teaching, or people aren't up to speed with where you're at or whatever. You know, a big part of that is I feel like if you let your own shields down, then people would feel more comfortable to be more of themselves around you. And I feel like that might give them more permission to be more of an authority in your presence as well. I feel like my pile number 3s are very commanding. I feel like you guys really command a presence. You guys really own a space. Even in the astral realms, like when your attention is on someone, they really feel it no matter where on this globe that they are. And so, but I do also feel that it feels like there's a lot of juggling that someone has to do to like really get to know you, to really get into your heart. Yeah, and I feel like it doesn't take much for someone to trigger you into a space of like, you guys naturally feel very authoritative within yourself. And so there's this level of vulnerability I think that you guys get when someone does start to open you up to a place to where you experience this. And this might be one of the reasons why you haven't had long-standing partnerships, is because your subtle body is trying to tell you, look, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's that we've been trying to chip away at all this trauma. We've been trying to slowly chip away at your defense mechanisms, because they come on really strong, especially when lovers come in, because, you know, generally, like, where does trauma come from and where does our nervous system, majority of our nervous system disruptions come from early childhood. So if you were bullied, for example, or if you experienced, like, if you saw parents being abused or siblings being abused, or that happened to you, and I don't mean in any way to talk so casually about this, it's just, this is part of like what I do on the planet. So it can seem very casual when I speak about it. So that was just a little side note. However, it's essential to remember that when you were in the most vulnerable, the most open state, that was abused and that was taken advantage of. So it's no surprise that when you start to feel that, again, that inner child starts to come out, especially around someone, that it can open you to a degree of vulnerability that other people can't, because they hold a certain key, right? These significant relationships can hold certain keys that most others can't, right? And so it's no surprise, it's no wonder, it's no blame why when you would start to feel that type of tenderness and innocence and vulnerability again, that you would want to like, okay, get me all my motherfucking shields, right? Like, let's get this army, the Roman Empire, build it up around me now, right? So, you know, this is really saying that there's a lot, you know, if it feels like you have these little sparks that come up here and there, these little romantic interests that don't seem to last very long, or maybe they do, or maybe you don't experience it to a depth that, like, you have that spark and then it feels really good and you feel really childlike, and then it's like someone out of their very innocent human nature does something to trigger an abandonment wound. Like maybe they like someone else's picture, you know, someone else that you might think that they think is attractive, or something happens where you're watching an interaction. Like if you had abandonment wound from a parent, right? This is speaking from experience, then jealousy could be a really active component in your relational dynamics, right? Whatever you think could possibly take away this good thing or take away your love from you, as it was taken away from you when you were like a young child and really needed it literally to survive. All right, so this is the level that the subtle body works on. Your nervous system it's very sneaky, because again, it's like on one hand, you can feel so on it, you're so in your authority, you're in your power, like you have this very confident air about you, and it's very magnetic. People want to get close to you. I feel like this is a group where naturally, you guys, I feel like you naturally do love yourself. I feel like this is a group where you do think highly of yourself. I feel like you're very aware of your gifts. You're very aware of what you have to bring, right? You're very aware of just the power that you bring. And I feel like you guys are really busy people. You're probably really on your game. You got a lot going on. There's a lot of things that you're juggling in your life, right? But the second I feel like someone gets too close, or they approach too close to that subtle chord of abandonment or trauma or wound or whatever, it's like the shields come up, right? And that's not a negative thing. It's like, again, this is just to bring awareness around what you guys probably already know to be true. And so however that manifests, like that can manifest in really subtle ways of like sabotage, self-sabotage, like when you're just like really trying to show someone like that you can't be fucked with, right? That can happen in a really subtle way, but also that's like a level of protection that that's us still acting from that wounded warrior or from that wounded space of like, don't fuck with me. I'm not one to be fucked with. You can't fuck with me, right? Don't even think about fucking with me or you're out. I'm going to snip you out, right? That's coming from that level of being traumatized, right? And so that's why I feel like the lovers that do come in, it's like, I feel like low key, they feel like they're not getting like a fresh version of pile 3. To some extent, you're very powerful. And I feel like you guys are in a place in your career or in a place where externally it's very visible and it's very clear to people, whether or not you would think this about yourself, but it's very clear that you have done a lot, that you've come a long way within yourself. You're very confident and you're someone that's going to be known by people. You're going places, right? You're here to achieve an immense amount of victory and success. But I feel like the one department that it's hard for you to do that is in the realm of relationships, right? And again, I have some people tuning into this that are in relationships. How fulfilling are those, if we're being really honest, right? Because, some people in pile number 3 will settle for someone that, is just there, a warm body to snuggle up to at night that isn't really cutting it, right? And some of my pile 3s are beings that are just like so, I don't want to say so picky, but it's just like, you have those filters up because you really know who you are. And it's like the second someone comes in and they start to trigger that deep work that wants to happen, right? This is what it means to actually be in a high level soulmate dynamic, is like, hopefully people are at a level of maturity to where they're not projecting. It's like, all of this, I know when I'm taken to this place, it has nothing to do with this other person. Right? But if they're not at a place of maturity where they can handle and hold the space for me, being like, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm triggered by this, I know it's not about you, but this is what it's bringing up for me. Thank you. I love you. It's all in love. If one or both people are not at a place to understand it's never about the other person, but it's like in terms of triggering, even in terms of love, right? We can be experiencing the state of being in love together, but we're not in love with someone else. It's just activating a portal within us that already knows and is already able and capable to be in love with life itself. Because what happens when you fall in love with someone else? You're in love with everyone. You're in love with your cashier. You're in love when you're scrubbing your toilets, like when you're doing the dishes, you got your music on, and just everything is infused. That is a state that you can be in all the time, right? Maybe not in the sense of like being so scattered and on the gross level that we can tend to feel when it seems like it's being sparked externally. But that exists within on a subtle level. Layers and levels are much more powerful because they're closer to the unchanging, right? The unchanging is closer to truth. All that changes is part of the ephemeral, right? So I'm hearing that for my pile number 3s, to wrap this up, your nervous system, your subtle body is saying that you have a lot of people that want to give their love to you, want to be lovers, but also on friends in terms of close friendship dynamics. There's a lot of people that would like victory and success in terms of being your friend and being a part of your life and giving you the love that you deserve. I feel like you've come a really long ways in terms of this, like leaving this behind. But your subtle body is purging these layers of feeling unsafe, of feeling like people are out to get you, of feeling like someone is just going to leave you, use you, abuse you, then leave you, right? Discard you. And spirit, your nervous system is being like, just be aware. It's time to release this, right? So obviously you're not doing this in unsafe hands, right? You're not giving of yourself to people that aren't in a place intuitively that you can feel that can hold this type of space. But when it does come in, you guys, when it does come in, pile 3, don't run from it, right? Really Give yourself permission to feel whatever you need to feel, but do your best to not perpetuate stories. Do not attach to the other person. Do not run away with wherever your mind tries to take you, because that's your indication that karma, right? That a deep wound has been triggered in karma. We don't want to bind ourselves to more karma. We want liberation, right? So utilize this to help you drop your shields, right? To feel safe. When you start to feel triggered, go into a Kundalini session, Kundalini yoga session, or a breathwork session, whatever. I'm sure there's like tons of these online for free, right? But again, let your intuition guide you. But your subtle body is saying there's remnant cords of unforgiveness. Your current friends and your current lovers, like the new people that come in, they're not getting your fullness. You can deeply love someone, but then also that love starts to feel so pure, and it starts to resemble too much towards what your child self, your innocent child self felt towards your family or your friends or whatever, that ended up betraying you, that ended up hurting you, because believe it or not, they're also human, right? And so to not hold that against current people that are coming in and that are actually much more reflective of who you are now. They are much less likely to bring suffering into your life to the degree that those other people did, because you have done a certain level of unearthing within yourself. So the people you're attracting have also done a certain level of unearthing within themselves. So naturally you're going to attract more mature relationships, right? But just being wise, like not like allowing yourself in ways that feel okay. Let your allowing yourself to feel safe, because that was the first thing I heard, is like pile 3 doesn't feel safe, especially in love and especially in friendship. And it's like you have so much to give. You have so much love to give, pile number 3. I feel like that's your gift and your curse, right? Because it's been used, it's been abused. It's you have grown to think or grown to learn or grown to believe. It's literally your experience, your subtle body, your nervous system. It's become your experience that it's not safe though, and then I have to shield myself. No, the Dharmic warrior is one that goes, that is so wide open to whatever comes their way, because they are so surrendered to spirit, right? And they see other as self, they see other as self, and they see self as other, right? And they know to cast judgment on someone else is to cast judgment on themselves, right? And so if we're unable to forgive, if we're unable to let go, we can't expect the same for other people, right? To do the same for us. So I'm going to leave this reading here for now. Thank you for being here. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Continue to let go, meditate, do whatever can help you strengthen your nervous system. So again, breathwork, highly recommend. Kundalini yoga, highly recommend. Life Force Academy, check that out if you haven't already. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with them in any way. I just deeply believe in the work that Jaidev and his team are doing. It has brought a lot of healing to my own nervous system, my own subtle body. So highly recommend doing those things. If not, at the very least, check out things on YouTube with people that you trust. So pile number 3, please like, comment down below, subscribe if you've been here before, and I hope I see you soon.